on the 64 squares as a beginner / intermediate player, one of the most coveted titles of all is that of reaching 1,000 rating. I'm going to show you in this video exactly how I hit 1,000 rating, and you're going to go through the journey with me like you could on a stream at twitch.tv/LoBagLive. Who knows, maybe I'll be live right now. But we're going to show you some games. You're going to go through with me, and I'm going to share with you my thought process as I am on the verge of 1,000 elo in this video. And who knows, maybe we'll even hit it. So, game number 1. We have the black pieces in this game. Very important to understand that we are the player we are facing, right? Very, very incredible understanding right there. Already showing you. Look, you already know something about chess, right? So we get we get D4, Knight F6, C4, E6, and my opponent doesn't want to invite the Nimzo, and my opponent plays Knight F3 in this position. So I think, hey, let's just play chess. D5. D5. Very classical. This is now something of a Queen's Gambit. You can reach the same position under something like D4, D5, and the knight here. Look at how this is the exact same position that we hit right here and right here, right? So very, 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 very simple position. As you can see, I did not win this game. You did not see anything. D4, D5, D4, Knight F6. We've already been over this. All right, here we go. My opponent in this position plays Knight F3, in which I pin him, and we enter the Rogozin defense. Now, if you know about the Rogozin defense, I incorrectly called this the Nimzo Indian last video. That is because the Nimzo is when the knight goes here and you pin here. I think I already explained this, but yes, I know I got it wrong. Comments, stop talking to me about it. It's okay. We don't talk about Bruno sometimes. So we get a counter pin. My opponent goes for bishop g5 here, pinning my knight to my queen. Pretty simple moves here. I pinned his knight to his king. He was like, hey, that's a good idea. Again, opponents just like to copy me. Opponents just enjoy copying me because my ideas are so good. Because I actually invented the pin as well. So I play h6 here. My opponent slides back the bishop to f4. We go g5. Booting at the bishop immediately. Don't care about what the eval bar says. The bishop goes to e5 here. Now, if you can see, if you have eyes here, you're going to see that my rook is now in the knight. So I can't just move the knight because I lose the rook here. So I play rook g8. Logical move. h3. I don't understand what that does. I guess it prevents knight g4. The problem is I play knight e4. My opponent plays queen f2. I play knight c6. And my opponent plays queen c2, knight f6. We get e3 here on the board. Now I decide to take the bishop on e5 because I'm like, hey, this is restricting my position. I want to do this. My opponent takes here. I take here and takes back. And immediately I'm thinking, what do I do here? So I think for a while in this position. Actually, I'm just kidding. I thought for 1 second and I played bishop d6. So I played bishop d6 in this position. And my opponent takes on d5. Now, the reason taking on d5 is so bad here, and you can see the eval drops too, is this structure isn't helpful to my development at all. So this pawn is protected, and you kind of want to wedge it forward. c5 is okay. c5, the computer doesn't like c5, but in the future, it probably does have c5 as a move. c6, c5 kinds of ideas. Also, f4, f5 types of ideas. Maybe f5 from black too. Types of ideas in the future. That is all good though. In this position, we get d takes d5, e takes d5, knight d3 here. And I play bishop f5. I'm like, okay, pin. I love tactics. Let's go. Bishop e2 here. And we can see my opponent is preparing to castle. I'm like, hey, we're not going to castle here. I don't care. We're not castling. I'm moving my rook to c5. We're going to play c5 soon. Or I'm moving my rook to c8 to defend c5, right? We're going to play c5. We're going to go for a pawn break in this position. Because if you can see, I can even, in this position, I could even take with the rook. For instance, my opponent castles c5 here. I could actually take with the rook. Because if knight takes, lose a queen. Or if knight takes, you lose a queen like this. For instance, this could happen, and all would be fine and dandy in that position, correct? So, my opponent plays queen b3. He doesn't like that. I play bishop e6, backing up, putting my bishop on the same diagonal as this queen. Now, this only does something if this d pawn is to move. So, queen takes on b7. I'm like, okay, queen's in my position. I'm just going to play c5 anyway. So I play c5, knight takes c5, bishop takes c5, and now the pawn moves. And so I play rook takes c5. And now the important thing to notice is that we're also hitting c3. My opponent castles directly into that. I play c3 with, I take on c3 with a check. Computer eval goes up. It's because queen a5 is crushing here. Defending the pawn and, I don't know, just winning. And now the reason that this isn't that good is because my opponent in this position resigned the game. My opponent resigned the game in this position. My opponent had 51 seconds on the clock. He resigns here. So, maybe my opponent shouldn't have resigned. Maybe he was just mad that he castled directly into this. We will never know. And I mean, I was up 0.3, and I was obviously going to be playing perfectly the rest of the game, so it didn't matter. Same result, right? We move on to the next game. Here we go. We get e4, c5. And against the Sicilian defense, I like to play knight c3, a closed Sicilian, and if my opponent plays a number of moves, I like to play f4 here, entering the Grand Prix. Now, the Grand Prix is very interesting. The idea is you go knight f3. I like bringing my bishop out to c4. We encounter a6. The idea is to go b5. I'm not scared. Bring it on. My opponent plays b5. So I just slide the bishop back to b3. We're going to get c4 here, absolutely crushing my position. Now, you'd think I saw this in the game. Absolutely not. Of course not. This is a sign of an incredible player when you have used 14 seconds and already hung a full piece. Now, the computer, you might notice, doesn't even say it's -3, and you're like, wow, but you're going to be down a full piece. But I lash back with d4. d4, taking center control, gambiting the bishop, right? So now we're going to take back. And we get e5 here. Why is e5 so bad? Because d5 is played. d5 is played on the board. Now we get knight d4. Now we take the defense of the knight. And when pawn takes, we are able to take the pawn. And if the knight tries to come back here for some reason, even though... Okay, we're obviously threatening rook f7 and knight f7 ideas here. So there aren't really any moves that stop it, is the entire point of this. Besides, like, queen e7 doesn't really do anything. And so black just gives up a knight. And as you can see, the position in this situation is +8. And this is obviously because of knight f7. Of course, in the game, I did not see this. I am 986. Who do you think I am? I'm not going to see that. So in this position, I see, queen check. This looks strong. Queen a4 check. Top engine move here. Or queen h5 check. Top engine move here. We get g6, and I sack the knight. The idea being, if he takes, I take the rook. I'm attacking, and I'm going to have some discovered attack ideas here on the king here. So he plays knight f7, or knight f6 here. We drop the queen back to h5, saying, hey, bring it on. If you play there, I'm going to go there, and I'm going to win your knight. So he goes here. I take the rook. He takes me back. We put pressure on the pinned piece. Very simple concept. It's a pinned piece. We're going to add a defender of it. So now the king has to step up to defend in order to save the piece. The king can't step up to defend, though. So king f7 would be a move, but that wouldn't be a move. And now we have bishop takes, queen takes, rook takes, king e7, rook h6. And we, throughout the rest of this game, we are up, and we simply convert the position, taking a pawn over here, giving a check, checking with the rook in order to win every single pawn. Notice how I realized here, I'm going to get rid of his last piece of material. Very instructive moment here. I'm going to get rid of his last major piece in order to ensure that I win the pawns over here. And now these pawns are just going. And you're going to see how now the pawn just goes and the king cannot stop it. And so wait as I try to figure out how to cut off the king. Very nice move here. Queen f6. Just restricting the direction of the king. The king moves here. I play g7. The only move here is king d7. That does anything. And after this move, the king goes to the back voluntarily. I promote to a queen. We have this, and it's just a simple ladder from here. Obviously, what does the computer want here? This mate? No, what's mate here? Oh wait, it's this, isn't it? Yeah, of course it's that. But I just opt for the ladder. I have 9 seconds left on the clock. Very clutch situation for me. Performing, saying, hey, you might have the time advantage, but I absolutely have the positional advantage. And we move on with that to our third game here. Now, in this game, it is very important to note that I am 993. I am on the verge of making it to the big leagues. Wait, I have to check real quick. Okay. This is our third game. We have knight f3, g6. Here, we play a modern defense, d6. And we have a very good move here, d6, e5. He pushes up, f6, blocking the bishop's attack here on the queen. So we have bishop g5, f6, saying, no, you can't come into my position. The bishop slides back. We have a nice modern here with the knights on f3 and c3. The bishop here on the g file, from g7 to b2 diagonal, hoping to laser beam down the opponent's position. Notice how the opponent might have some pieces developed, but he is nowhere near castling. Except for this move, I guess. My opponent is probably going to play here in castle. And my plan goes as follows. After knight takes d5. I don't know why this is a big blunder. I don't really want to know. It's because queen takes d5 exists. And this is just pressure on the position. But I'm sure it'll be fine. Your boy handles things like this all the time because the opponent plays knight d5, which blunders all the advantage away. And gives me a completely fine position. After bishop c6, we have bishop d7, queen d3, a6, and the game is absolutely lost in this move. My opponent takes. I take back. Hey, I'm hitting your knight. Let's go. He plays bishop b6. I play queen b6, saying, hey, what are you doing? I'm going to go here. My opponent plays there. I'm going to go here. I go here. The computer hates me. Those moves were absolutely horrible, you might say. And you are absolutely right. But here's the thing, right? Chess is only as good as the two players. Or a move is only as good as what your opponent plays in response to it. And you know what my opponent played in response? The queen takes b2. You might notice that clock says 0. My opponent left the game. He aborted. He saw queen b2. He's like, okay, I'm going to head out. He left. This is the second time in 3 games my opponent has left the game. So obviously at this point, I'm like, I don't even have to play well to hit 1,000. This is my day. This is absolutely my day. Let's go. We have another game here. e4, c6. We're entering the Caro-Kann defense. What I like to play against the Caro-Kann defense, you know your boy likes the fantasy variation. He plays g7 or g6, attempting to fianchetto the bishop on g7. He does that exactly. We have a nice fantasy setup where black has a slight advantage, but really the position is quite balanced. And now after this, the queen goes and attacks on the king side. This I thought was very scary. My opponent starts playing a5. I play a4 to immediately shut down this idea, right? Because I don't want my opponent to be able to play this because, I don't know, move looks scary. Move, attack, piece, move is scary. That's my rationale here. I don't think this is blitz. So I play a4 here. My opponent plays queen b4. And instead of kicking out the queen, maybe, which is the best move, I play knight here, which is not the best move. My opponent plays bishop d7. I play e5. And the queen is just in my position. I mean, obviously, you might be saying, yeah, you could probably take this with the knight here. And you are completely right, to which you would have a +2 advantage in this position. But I don't do things like that. I play bishop d2. I take here. Discovered attack on the queen. What are you going to do? You're just going to take. Okay, fine. I'm going to give you a check. And after I give you a check, I'm going to move my bishop out, attack your rook, go here, and absolutely lose this game. And if you're wondering at this point in the game, Leo, you don't have... How did you get equal material in this position? I say, viewer, it doesn't matter. My opponent is +8 because this is a free bishop. The material is not equal. Bishop d5 takes, and I am just down a piece. You might say you would resign in this position. And to that, I would say that's a good point. I should have probably resigned in this position. But instead, I played 42 more moves. And the game did not get any better, chat. There were glimmers of hope. But my opponent snuffed out everything, every chance that I had, every opportunity, every glimmering hope of victory was snatched from me. And my hopes of winning were snuffed out. You might be thinking, am I going to win this? Absolutely not. My opponent just walks the queen down. You might have thought I had hope when you saw I won the rook. And now the pawn is just passed and I lost. A few moves later, we lost this game. Let's move on. You might notice now my rating is 983. The problem is you can notice every game if I win or not. What my rating is. So you know that I won this game because when we entered a London system, I played a very optimal setup. I attacked my opponent belligerently right away. Bishop here. Here. Taking the rook. My opponent castles. I am up a rook in this position. I played this. My opponent played here. And I gained a rook. So how did I convert the advantage? I took the pawn. My opponent plays here. I play queen a6. We end up trading queens. Me knowing that you can always trade pieces when you are up material, not seeing the fact that my knight was hanging afterwards. Not very smart from your boy. Now, the advantage went from like +7, +5 to like +2 after, or -2 for me, right? After this. But I'm like, okay, so now I'm just up in exchange. I'm going to play smart. I blunder a rook. What is going on in this position, you might be asking? And the answer is I have no effing clue. I have no clue. I was very angry at myself at this point in the stream. I was like, oh my God, we're not going to hit it. Now, the thing is here, the knight's actually trapped. How is my opponent going to get his knight out if I play king f5? The answer is my opponent is actually +5 in this position, but my opponent doesn't find it. He plays knight g3. I play king e6, play here, and the bishop slides into g7. My opponent gives me the knight. And now you might be saying, Leo, it's still +3.7. I don't see how you're going to win this position. But here's the thing. In my brain, this is equal material because the material is equal. Although I do have passed 8 pawns and my opponent has a chain of 5 pawns that are belligerently going to destroy my position. I don't see that. I'm 900. I'm pushing 1,000. This is my game. This is my time to shine. My opponent plays rook a7, a completely reasonable move. I give him a check. King slides to h2, f4. Let's go. Let's go. This is my game. This is my game. h5, completely blundering a pawn. My opponent doesn't take it. Bishop f4. If you take, I'm going to take. Let's go. He takes. I play rook c2. All of a sudden, the position has not changed whatsoever, but your boy gets into f2. And now I'm thinking, well, maybe takes. I'm going to win. I have my passed a pawn. Let's go. I still have my passed a pawn. And the opponent plays e4 here. Completely blundering this pawn. If it wasn't pinned, haha, I got you there. I got you there. You know I got you there. You know I got you there and totally didn't just make a mistake. I take on e4. Knight takes e4. I play this move. Very useful. Protecting my rook, saying, hey, if you take, I might take over here. Who even knows? My opponent takes, I take. He plays rook h6. Now, this move is brain dead because the only advantage my opponent has are the fact that he has 2 pawns. I have 1. If my opponent traded, I would be dead winning, so my opponent was right. Okay, I actually got you that time. I did know that. My opponent shouldn't trade there. Because this pawn, the point is that this pawn is going to beat this pawn to it. Queening. My opponent plays this move. But I'm like, hey, I'm taking on d4. Now, if you take, I can take, right? So I'm protecting my pawn by taking another pawn. Now, you might be like, Leo, your opponent still indefinitely has the advantage. He has 2 passed pawns. You only have 1. But my king comes over. And my king comes over. And the king's dancing. The king takes on h4. All of a sudden, it's 1-on-1. The position is completely equal. How did this happen? My opponent has literally blundered the entire game away. And you're absolutely right. I play a3 here. My opponent plays g5. I play rook f7 check. I don't know. I was just playing checks. I was up on time, if you look. So I was just playing checks. Rook g7. 4. I'm going to go to c3. Notice how I'm not letting my king get stuck behind this pawn. If I get stuck behind this pawn is, then we could just do this dance. I don't want to do that dance. I want to get down tonight. My opponent plays g6. Blunders the pawn with check. I take the pawn with check. I play rook g1. And we're going to try to escort the pawn. Rook a1. Takes. And all of a sudden, all your boy has to do is figure out how the hell to mate with king and rook. And the technique comes in, baby. The technique is perfect. Some would even call this flawless technique from your boy. And now the king has to move somewhere. He moves here. You have this here and mate. Instead, we got king h3 and just checkmate in 1. And that is the end of a 63 move win. An absolute monster. Your boy's recapping it very quickly as we move on. We are now 997 after this game. That's a spoiler. I don't know what to do about that. Whatever. You're here for the game, not the rating. You already know I hit it. But how? It's about the journey, not the destination. Right? We have e4, e6. I love the French. We play le baguette française. We play the French baguette opening. Yep. Definitely what happens here. And we end up into the middle game with a position with a slight edge to white. My opponent plays h3, though, giving me time. I play rook g8. We got g4. Bishop e4. Completely hanging a pawn. Absolutely hanging a pawn. And the queen would be viable on this diagonal. Absolutely terrible move for me. My opponent doesn't care. My opponent, I'm like, okay, I'll trade that. I blundered earlier. At this point, I am -4. You might be saying, how do I defend? I'm going to defend this way. Because why not at this point? I'm an idiot. We're all idiots. Queen d6. Just keeping an eye on this because I literally have to. My queen is the only defender of this. Without the queen here, this is just chessmate. I'm just chessmated. On e7, my king is dead. My king dies on e8. Play c5 here. Yep, I play c5 here. Allowing knight d5. But my opponent doesn't play that. I play c5. So I play c4. My opponent slides back. I castle. My opponent plays rook e1. Bishop f8. Sliding out. My opponent plays knight b5, to which I have queen a6. Rook e8. Queen takes b5. Rook takes d8. King takes d8. Queen c3. And knight b6. And I'm saying, hey, I'm going to go create threats over here. All of a sudden, the position is -5. And oh boy, did I create some threats in this game. It is time to show you off a masterclass. Knight a4, threatening queen b2. So we get queen d2. Rook g5. I don't know what my plan was here. All of these squares are covered. It's okay. Bishop slides back. h6. Playing on all sides of the board. Don't worry about it. f4, rook g7. f4. My opponent really wanted, or f5. My opponent really wanted to move on. Okay. King d7. Now we're just playing moves. At this point, you're just watching 2 900s kind of guess about what you're supposed to do in this position. That's what you're watching. Bishop c2, knight b6, queen takes h6, bishop e7, saying, okay, I'm going to defend this. This is free pawn, of course. But okay, my opponent takes free pawn, of course. I play queen c6. We have queen e5. My opponent says no to trading. And you should say no to vaping. And queen d6. In this position, my opponent plays queen e2. And notice how the eval bar, with every move, guesses whether we even deserve 10 rating points total instead of 10 for this game. And at this position, I lose a rook. And you might think, Leo, how did you manage to win this game? I saw your elo went up. I played a check. And I went back with the knight. And I took the queen. And I stopped the pawn. And yes, I'm down a full exchange, but my opponent blunders a rook. You might think, why did your opponent blunder a rook? Well, look at the time. There's 10 seconds left. I'm down on time here. And I'm down in material, but my opponent hangs a rook. And I take. Because my knight covers the promotion square. And in a sheer show of brilliancy, I am up 2 pieces with 2 seconds left. And I play knight f4 check and time my opponent out. The game is over. I am 997 rating. Now the question is, do I win this next game? Yes, I do. Your boy wins this next game. But how does your boy win this next game? You'll find out now. d4, d5. We enter in London. Knight f6. c5 is not played until the next move. Bishop b5 check. Knight c6. Knight c3. a6. Bishop takes c6. B takes c6. Castles. Queen b6, trying to create initiative over here. Great ideas in the London system, playing this sort of pawn structure and the move queen b6 at some point. Unfortunately, this is a little bit later than I would have liked to play the move queen b6, but it's okay. My opponent and I, having used 7 seconds and 6 seconds on our clocks each, I have the bishop pair already. So I'm thinking, in my brain, this is an advantage to me. This is an advantage for me. I'm taking on d4. My opponent's taking it back. We're going to do some exchanges. There's going to be a little bit of tomfoolery, and then my opponent plays queen g4. Saying, oh, you put your queen over here? I'm going to do something like that too, but completely blundering a fork with a hit on the queen. Absolutely nasty, devastating blow to my opponent's position. I take the bishop. My opponent plays this check. I take. My opponent takes the queen. I take on e3, and the position is plus 11. And you might be saying, Leo, how did you do this? A minute ago you were -3. How did you do this to the position? Because I'm a god. And god gamers know how to lose every piece on the board the right way. But I had my king. The game isn't over till it's over. And I know that at this point. Because I played check. Takes. f5. Hey, we're going to create some problems. And my opponent doesn't know how bishops move. So I win the queen. Because my opponent initially thinks too, well, I want to take the pawn with the rook. I can't take the pawn with the rook. It's pinned. So my opponent in this position takes with the queen and can't take back with the rook. It's pinned. So my opponent sidesteps the pin. I defend. I play this check. My opponent plays here. I play rook takes d8. And my opponent resigns in this position. Ladies and gentlemen, we have done it. We have hit 1007 rating. You might be wondering, Leo, why you have one more game for us? It's because I played one more game yesterday, and I wanted to include it in the video because I won. Yep, this is a bonus game. Yep, you just got. You thought for some reason I lost and had been lying to you the whole time, didn't you? Yeah, you're a fraud. You're a fraud. I know you're a fraud. Haha. L. E4. E6. We have a French. We play a very solid French. My opponent plays this move, this move. We have Queen B6. This is one of my favorite lines. This position is dead equal. We have an absolute war in this position. And oh boy, are you Taylor Swift? Because this was a great war. The great war, some would even say. The war to end all wars and almost hang my queen. Notice how I saw that this pawn actually changed the position, so I moved my queen. That is something of an 1,000 rated player. Now, 900 Leo might not have seen that, but 1,000 Leo was different. And you might bet that I should have taken on d4 here. Yes, that is an absolute free pawn. You are right. But you know what else is true? A5! And you might think, Leo, A5 was a dumb move. It was the second best stockfish move, okay? I don't know why, actually. Oh, I know why. Now that I look at it, I know why. Because if takes, I take the bishop. That's my thought. The problem is this hangs a queen. So I didn't look is why it was good for me. Bishop takes b4. Bishop takes b4. And now we're just going to gain a healthy advantage here. You might be thinking, Leo, how are you winning a chess game? You're usually losing and then you win on time or something like that. You are absolutely right. But we have bishop b7 in this position. Rook goes back. I play knight takes d4. Finally seeing the free pawn as it has been there for like, I don't know, the past like 4 moves. Okay, give me a break. Give me a break. It's okay. You might think, Leo, where did the queens go? Yes. After your boy finally saw a free pawn, he gets his queen threatened, and he gets the queens off the board. Yes! Your boy's winning in this position. Absolutely. I got a bishop against knight. 2 rooks. But we have a 5 against 3. And that is significant enough to win this game. And this pawn is just a weakness. This pawn is just a weakness, is the understanding there. That's why black is +2 in this position. They've got a weakness on e5. That's going to go b1 at some point. A good pawn structure. And a way to get out. So let's see how it played out. b4. Rook b8 here. Rook here. And I played rook a4. My opponent plays an e1. I played b3. Discovered attack on the rook. My opponent takes back, and I win the rook. Let's repeat that. I played this move, making the rook have to take, so I would take back. This is how I pictured this going. Rook takes, I take, he takes, I take. And I thought I was winning here. I'm not winning. I'm actually losing in this position. But I don't know that, nor do you know that. You didn't look. You didn't know that. Let's be honest here. I should have played rook b3. Then I would have been winning. But you didn't know that. You're a YouTube viewer. You're watching a 900. You can't be any good at chess. So we have b4 here. In this position, after the rook trade, we have b4 here. Rook d1. Threatening checkmate on the next move. We have king f1. And the devastating blow, bishop b5. Saying, you can't block, you're pinned, brother. The only thing you can do is sacrifice your rook. And so in this position, my opponent... Okay, chat, by the way. We have this move as the potential option, and this move is the potential move. This loses. And this is just losing. I can even take here, and I just have a rook. And you see how bad this is for my opponent? Like, for instance, like, where do you go? Just like, what do you do in this position, right? So you'd give a check, you'd win the pawns, and then you'd go push your guy. You'd go push your leftist agenda over here. And then your opponent would eventually die. This is bonus content, chat. This is the incredible content that you subscribe for. And that is checkmate. And that's definitely how the game ended. And you can subscribe for that. Thank you so much for watching. You have made it 35 minutes in. And more importantly, I have made it 35 minutes in to a recording session without stopping talking. Not too bad of a video. Hopefully you enjoyed. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. I hope it's entertaining. I really do. I'm trying my best. I think last video was better. I'll try to come up with better content for you guys. Much love. See you tomorrow. Peace out.